Hi, I'm Psiman and welcome to this short video where I'm going to share my thoughts on the Nintendo Switch and then at the end ask for your thoughts on it through the YouTube polling cards. So I have to admit straight up, I do not own a Nintendo Switch. I've at most held the Nintendo Switch. I saw it in a local shop. But I haven't actually played on it. So I'm basing a lot of this on what I've heard other people, and I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, read a lot of articles on the internet about this system, and I've been really surprised about how much it's piqued my interest, because I'm not really a Nintendo fan, and until very recently, I was not actually interested in purchasing it. I was interested in the system, interested in the hardware, and interested in all of the debate that surrounded it. But it wasn't until the actual release of the machine and the reviews of Zelda Breath of the Wild that I thought, well, I wouldn't actually mind one of those. And it wasn't necessarily the Nintendo Switch, but it was the game Breath of the Wild that I wanted and still want to play. Now you might think, well, if you want to get Breath of the Wild, why not pick up a Wii U? Surely they're cheap now. People must be throwing them away. The system's essentially dead. Nintendo doesn't want to support it anymore. Well, the problem with that is they're still really high price, or they have a really high price for something that's no longer a supported system. I think Breath of the Wild is, or may well be, the last game released on the system. And I think Nintendo have stopped making them. And the Switch, as it's a hybrid, handheld home console, is essentially the replacement for the Wii U. And if I could have picked one up for about £100 or less, I definitely would have got a Wii U and then bought Breath of the Wild, because I think there are probably a couple of other games I would like to play on the Wii U as well, and I find it quite a curious system, and it would still play all of my original Wii games, so there is that slight value to it as well. But as I said, they're so expensive. Even looking at prices in the UK, where they seem to be selling second hand for upwards of £150, here they haven't dropped in price. So in the shops, there's not a lot of stock of them, but if I went to my local electronics store, Sharaf DG, it would cost me 1,150 dirhams to buy one, which is more than, quite a lot more than 200, probably more like £250 to buy a 4-year-old, or is it 4.5-year-old console that Nintendo doesn't want to support anymore. So that seems crazy. But even more crazy is the price I would have to pay for a Nintendo Switch, because I would expect to pay about 1,150 dirhams to buy a new Switch here. But it hasn't been officially released here yet, so I'd have to go the grey import route, go down to my local souk, to one of the stores there, which I often buy games from. And they did have one, even just a couple of days after launch, they had one there, and they would have happily sold it to me, but it was 1,700 dirhams, which in pounds is about £380. In dollars, that's $460-ish for a $300 machine. So I wasn't prepared to pay that. Even if I had have got it at retail, I still would have had some reservations. And those reservations come from, I think, one, the form factor of the machine. Because it seems strange to me that Nintendo made it actually as small as they did. Because I think once you get past a certain size, it stops becoming pocket portable. And if you're going to go for bag portable, you might as well beef it up a little bit. The controllers for my hands are they're far too small. And The screen is not too bad. I don't mind the size of it, but they could have enhanced the screen size a little bit, and they could have even increased the thickness to get a bit of a better battery in there, because the battery life, in today's age of laptops and tablets that last for up to 10 hours or more, and we're seeing sort of 5-6 hours of gaming on these machines. To get a console that's sort of 2.5 to 3 hours gaming for something that's primarily a games console didn't really sit well with me. So we've got the size of the machine, which I'm not that happy with. The fact that I wouldn't really use it as a handheld machine as well is also an issue. I'm much more of a couch or sitting at a desk kind of gamer. I don't have a lot of need for mobile gaming. I don't have a long commute to work. I don't go on regular business trips. So a portable system's not that important to me. So if I did have a Switch, it would be plugged into the dock, connected to the TV. And for that type of system, it's not very well priced. I wouldn't get the value out of it, unfortunately. I'm not saying that the system itself is overpriced for what it is, because it seems like a very good handheld machine. I'm just saying I wouldn't get value for money from it. And when you compare it, in that same place where they were selling it for 1,700 dirhams, I could have bought, although I don't need it, I've already got a PlayStation 4, but I could have got a 500 gigabyte slim PS4 for 850 dirhams, so half the price of a Nintendo Switch. And I think we'll all agree that the PlayStation 4, even the base model, is more powerful than a docked Nintendo Switch. So to me, it doesn't represent the value for money that I need from it. So there are a couple of other considerations that when you do use it as a portable machine, I've heard people say, it's strange, there are conflicting views. Some people say that when you've got the Joy-Cons on the side, it's a little bit wobbly, that it doesn't feel solid. But then I've heard other people say, wow, actually, it feels like quite a solid machine. So maybe there are some differences in manufacturing quality from model to model that people have got. I would, using it as a home machine, wouldn't want to use the Joy-Cons because they're so small, like clipped into that little cradle, which seems like quite a nice idea. But if the controllers were bigger and then had them in a cradle, that might work. But I would need to then spend another £60 or whatever it is for the Pro controller to really get use out of the system. So, all in all, as it stands at this current point in time, the Nintendo Switch doesn't seem like the system for me. The Wii U is still too expensive. So it looks like I'm going to have to wait a good amount of time to get to play Breath of the Wild, which is a shame because I really would like to play it now, but I'm not prepared to fork out the amount of money it's going to cost to play that game. And there doesn't seem to be much coming out on the system that appeals to me. I'm not that interested in the new Mario game, and that's months away. So, yeah, I'm going to hold off on the Switch. And one last reason, I think, is because I've got a feeling that a year or two down the line, Nintendo are going to release a new version of the Switch. I mean, the Switch does seem to be selling well, and Nintendo have a history of releasing XL versions of their consoles. So if they brought out a bigger version of the Switch with adult-sized controllers on the side of it, I would definitely be more interested in picking one of those up. So maybe a couple of years down the line, there will be a Switch XL, and I will finally be able to play Breath of the Wild. So I'm looking forward to that when it does arrive, and maybe 2 years down the line, there will be some better games on the system. So let me know what you think of the Switch. So with the polling cards, of course, let me know if you have a Switch already, or if you're planning to buy a Switch, if the Switch is something you're definitely going to avoid, that it's not for you. I'd like to know about that. But then also, let me know what you think about the system itself. Do you think it's a really great piece of technology, that Nintendo have done the right thing, or all the way down to you think this is a real miss by Nintendo? So I'd love to hear from you, and of course please leave comments to tell me what you think. So from my living room to wherever you are, this is Psiman signing off. Bye bye.